In the heart of the American West lies a quaint little town called Willow Creek. With its dusty streets, charming wooden storefronts, and friendly faces, life in Willow Creek moves at a pace that feels almost timeless. Every resident knows each other by name, and when something exciting happens, the whole town turns out to celebrate. Local events are the highlight of their days, be it the annual Harvest Festival or the summer picnic at the park. This year, excitement buzzes in the air like the sound of crickets on a warm evening, as the townspeople prepare for the annual meeting in the town square. Everyone is eager to hear from Sheriff Cole, the newly appointed sheriff who promises to bring fresh ideas and positive change after years under the rule of a stern and unyielding banker. Faces light up with smiles, and chatter fills the square as mothers carry babies on their hips and children run around with giggles. For Willow Creek, today was not just another meeting. It was a chance to unite and hope for a brighter future. Little did they know, that future would soon take an unexpected turn. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden glow over Willow Creek, townsfolk began to gather in the square. Wooden benches lined the area, and folks settled in with smiles, eager to witness what Sheriff Cole had to say. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, adding to the festive atmosphere. The smell of freshly baked pies wafted from nearby stalls, and children darted about, their laughter ringing out like music. Sheriff Cole stood at the front, a confident figure in his crisp uniform, his badge gleaming in the sunlight. He glanced around at the familiar faces, feeling a mix of excitement and responsibility. Today was not just another meeting. It was a chance to connect with the people he aimed to protect. As the clock struck 3, the murmurs quieted, and all eyes turned toward him. Sheriff Cole took a deep breath, ready to share his vision for a brighter future. The crowd leaned in, hanging on his every word, unaware that this moment would soon escalate into something they could never have imagined. The air was thick with anticipation, setting the stage for an unforgettable day. Sheriff Cole stepped forward, his eyes sparkling with warmth as he surveyed the eager faces before him. The chatter hushed, and he flashed a genuine smile that seemed to light up the square. It was the kind of smile that made people feel at ease, and he could see how it spread from one person to another, igniting a wave of excitement. This moment belonged to them all. "Thank you for coming out today," he called out, his voice clear and friendly. The crowd responded with cheers and claps, reinforcing a sense of unity among them. Sheriff Cole felt a deep connection to each resident, knowing their hopes and dreams rested on his shoulders. He took a brief moment to soak in the lively energy surrounding him. Children giggling, mothers exchanging stories, and older folks nodding in agreement. As he began to speak about community values and trust, Sheriff Cole noticed Mr. Thompson standing stiffly at the back, arms crossed tightly. A flicker of concern crossed his mind, but he brushed it away, believing that today was about progress and teamwork. The townspeople leaned in closer, hanging on his every word, their hearts filled with hope for a bright future. As Sheriff Cole continued his speech, a shadow seemed to loom over the square. Standing at the back was Mr. Thompson, the town's banker, known for his strict rules and cold demeanor. He was a figure that many townsfolk regarded with unease, as he often wielded his authority with an iron fist. The sight of him made some people shift uncomfortably in their seats, recalling past encounters filled with stern warnings and financial pressures. Mr. Thompson's arms were crossed tightly over his chest, and his expression was one of disapproval. While the sheriff spoke of community bonds and trust, Thompson's icy gaze suggested he had little patience for such ideals. Many residents had felt the weight of his rules, which often favored profits over people, leading to a tense relationship between him and the townsfolk. As Cole glanced at Thompson, a slight frown formed on his face, but he quickly redirected his focus back to the crowd, determined to inspire hope. Little did they know that this contrast between warmth and coldness would soon escalate into a moment that would change their lives forever. With the crowd now completely silent, Sheriff Cole took a deep breath and began his speech, his voice warm and inviting. "Thank you all for being here today," he started, gazing around at the familiar faces filled with hope. "As your sheriff, my goal is to build a community where trust and cooperation define our way of life. He spoke passionately about the strength of working together, emphasizing that each person in Willow Creek plays an important role in shaping their future. We can overcome obstacles by supporting one another, he continued, his eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. Imagine a town where we help our neighbors, where businesses thrive because the people care about each other. The townsfolk nodded along, feeling inspired by his words. Sheriff Cole shared stories of how collaboration had transformed other communities. His message resonated deeply, allowing many to envision a brighter tomorrow. As he pointed out the need for respect among differing opinions within the town, he glanced at Mr. Thompson again. The banker's expression remained frozen, but even so, the sheriff pressed on with conviction, urging everyone to embrace unity for a better Willow Creek. As Sheriff Cole continued to speak about unity and support, an uneasy silence hung over the crowd. Suddenly, Mr. Thompson stood up, his stern expression cutting through the warmth of the sheriff's words like a knife. The townsfolk shifted nervously, recognizing that this interruption could change the mood of the gathering in an instant. "Excuse me, Sheriff." Thompson's voice rang out, loud and authoritative. "While your ideas sound lovely, we must face reality. This town needs rules and discipline to thrive, not just dreams and feel-good speeches." His cold gaze swept over the audience, making some folks shrink back in their seats. The air grew thick with tension as Sheriff Cole paused, taken aback by the challenge. He could feel the weight of the crowd's eyes on him. Their anticipation turned to anxiety. Many residents had felt the sting of Thompson's strict policies before. They knew he was not one to back down easily. With determination in his heart, Sheriff Cole cleared his throat and prepared to respond, knowing that his next words could either restore hope or plunge the meeting into conflict. The atmosphere crackled with uncertainty, leaving everyone on edge. In the face of Thompson's challenge, Sheriff Cole took a moment, drawing in a steadying breath. He refused to let anger or fear dictate his response. Instead, he turned to Thompson with a calm demeanor, addressing him directly, as if they were simply having a conversation rather than standing before a crowd on edge. "Mr. Thompson, I understand your concerns," he began, his voice clear and composed. This unexpected composure surprised the audience, who had braced themselves for a much more heated exchange. Sheriff Cole continued, "Rules are important for any community. They provide structure and safety. But let us not forget the heart of Willow Creek, its people. We need both rules and compassion to thrive." The crowd seemed to relax slightly, sensing that their new sheriff was navigating the tension with grace. Cole's steady gaze met Thompson's icy stare, challenging him without raising his voice. "Together, we can create an environment where everyone feels valued and protected." The sheriff's words hung in the air, shifting the dynamic as he stood firm, ready to defend his vision for a united Willow Creek. Just as Sheriff Cole began to elaborate on the need for unity amidst differing opinions, Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the crowd once more, dripping with disdain. "You talk of compassion, but it's naive to believe that kindness alone will keep order in this town," he sneered, his expression hardened like granite. Tension crackled in the air as many townsfolk held their breath, unsure of what would come next. Suddenly, without warning, Sheriff Cole reached into his holster. Gasps echoed throughout the square as everyone braced for an unexpected move. In a flash, he pulled out his gun and aimed it, not at Thompson but directly into the air. "Enough!" The commanding shout reverberated through the gathering. The crowd froze in shock as Sheriff Cole's calm facade shattered any preconceived notions. Those present could feel the weight of his authority pressing down on them like a storm cloud. Let this be a reminder that while dialogue is essential, there are lines we cannot cross. The sheriff's decisive action shifted the atmosphere entirely. Fear mingled with awe, as the townspeople realized this was not just talk. Cole was willing to do whatever it took to protect his vision for Willow Creek. The crowd stood in stunned silence as Sheriff Cole's gunshot echoed through the square, shattering the festive atmosphere. All eyes turned in horror as Mr. Thompson staggered backward, a look of disbelief etched on his face. The townspeople had come to this meeting filled with hope, but now confusion and chaos reigned as they grasped what had just unfolded before them. "Did he just shoot him?" someone whispered, breaking the heavy silence. Gasps rippled through the crowd like wildfire, and panic began to set in as people instinctively stepped back, creating a wide circle around the sheriff and the fallen banker. Children clung to their parents, wide-eyed and frightened, while others shouted questions that hung unanswered in the air. Sheriff Cole stood firm, his expression unreadable as he assessed the situation. "This is for the good of Willow Creek," he shouted, trying to restore some semblance of order amidst the uproar. But his words fell flat against the backdrop of shock and fear. The reality of what had just happened sank in. This was no longer a simple town meeting. It was a turning point that would forever alter the fabric of their community. As the reality of the shooting set in, the townspeople reacted in a whirlwind of emotions. Some stood frozen in horror, hands over their mouths as they struggled to comprehend what had just transpired. Whispers filled the air, a mixture of disbelief and shock as they exchanged wide-eyed glances. Parents hurriedly pulled their children close, shielding them from the chaotic scene unfolding before them. Yet amid the panic, there were those who felt an unexpected sense of relief. For too long, Mr. Thompson had exerted his stringent control over Willow Creek, enforcing harsh policies that left many feeling oppressed. As they processed the shocking event, some found themselves quietly celebrating the end of an era dominated by fear and strict rules. "Maybe things can finally change," one woman murmured to her neighbor, a flicker of hope igniting in her voice. Sheriff Cole's actions had shaken the very foundation of their community, leaving them torn between horror and relief. The question now loomed large. What would this mean for their future? As they stood in that square, uncertainty gripped them, but so did the possibility of a new beginning. In the aftermath of the shooting, questions swirled around Sheriff Cole's motives. Had he premeditated this drastic action, thinking it was the only way to rid Willow Creek of Thompson's oppressive grip? Or had something snapped within him during that speech, a culmination of frustration and anger directed at a man who had long held power over the community? As the sheriff stood amid the chaos, the weight of his decision pressed heavily on his conscience. The look of shock on Thompson's face lingered in his mind, a moment frozen in time that could never be undone. Cole had spoken passionately about compassion and cooperation, yet in an instant he had resorted to violence. Was this really for the good of Willow Creek? Deep down, he wrestled with whether his actions would free the town or plunge it into deeper turmoil. As he glanced at the crowd, half horrified and half relieved, he realized he might have irrevocably changed the town's future, and perhaps his own. The line between justice and vengeance felt thinner than ever, leaving him to confront not only the townspeople but also his inner turmoil as their new sheriff. Sirens wailed in the distance as law enforcement arrived on the scene, their flashing lights cutting through the dusk like a beacon of authority. Officers quickly assessed the situation, moving through the crowd that was still reeling from the aftermath of Sheriff Cole's shocking act. Tension hung in the air, a mix of fear and confusion palpable among the townspeople. Some residents stepped forward, eager to explain what had unfolded, while others stood frozen in disbelief, grappling with the reality that their new sheriff had just shot the town's banker. Conversations erupted. Some people whispered that Cole was a hero, freeing them from Thompson's oppressive grip, while others condemned him for resorting to violence. As officers cordoned off the area and began to question witnesses, Sheriff Cole found himself on the outskirts of it all, overwhelmed by guilt and uncertainty. The town he aimed to protect felt different now. Trust had been shattered. Residents began speculating about what this meant for Willow Creek's future. Would they see a new beginning or descend into chaos? The community was left to confront not only the consequences of that fateful moment but also their own divergent beliefs about justice and leadership. In the days that followed the shocking events in Willow Creek, the town found itself at a crossroads, grappling with the consequences of Sheriff Cole's drastic actions. Residents debated heatedly at their kitchen tables and on street corners, questioning what this meant for their community moving forward. Would Cole's decision to shoot Mr. Thompson mark the beginning of a much-needed transformation, freeing them from years of oppression, or would it plunge them into chaos and further division? Some believed this moment was a catalyst for change, a chance to rebuild their community based on mutual respect and trust rather than fear. The whispers of hope began to circulate among those who longed for a new era in Willow Creek. Yet, others remained wary, fearing that Cole's actions had set a dangerous precedent that could unravel the very fabric of their society. As tensions simmered, it became clear that the sheriff's choice had irrevocably altered their course. The town stood poised between two futures, one illuminated by the possibility of progress and unity, the other shrouded in uncertainty and strife. How they chose to respond would shape Willow Creek for generations to come. In the wake of the shocking events in Willow Creek, the town stood at a pivotal moment, forever altered by one unexpected action. Sheriff Cole's decision to shoot Mr. Thompson not only transformed the dynamics of their community, but also forced every resident to confront the very nature of justice. The chaos and confusion that followed ignited a debate about the fine line between right and wrong, heroism and villainy. As neighbors discussed their feelings, some expressed anger and fear over what had happened, questioning whether Cole's actions would lead to greater violence or chaos. Others felt a flicker of hope, believing that his bold move might finally dismantle an oppressive system. This duality revealed the complexity of justice, how a single act could be seen through vastly different lenses, depending on one's perspective. In the days to come, Willow Creek would need to decide how to move forward. Would they unite in a shared vision of progress, or allow this incident to deepen divides? The community was left pondering how one moment could reshape their legacy forever, emphasizing that actions have consequences that extend far beyond initial intentions.